right, we're back with a severe weather update. As unfortunately, we are watching the potential for some significant severe weather to potentially take place over the Midwest as we head later on this evening. We're going to dive into that for Thursday, August 13th of 2026. This is the radar as of right now, this afternoon. This is not too long ago with a line of storms that did move out of Illinois, and now it's made its way into Indiana. As I did mention earlier today, that would happen where we have that first round of storms coming in, followed by another one later on this evening. But you can tell that first round is starting to fall apart just a little bit. It's impacting mainly the southern parts of Indiana at the moment. The northern part of the state just seeing some light rain occurring at this time, which is good news mainly for the areas where, again, they've had severe storms, but unfortunately, their luck's going to run out later on this evening into tonight. So if you are in those areas, you may want to pay extra close attention. Now, with the current severe weather outlook, they have shifted the slight risk into parts of Indiana and parts of Ohio as they saw the dynamics there for potential for more scattered severe storms to take place. Looking at that being the case again for southeastern Iowa, central Illinois, and parts of Indiana too into southwestern Ohio. Watching that to be the possibility as we have throughout tonight. And then surrounding that, a marginal risk for the areas around the Midwest. Only focusing on these areas again, as this is going to be the focus for this video. Looking at a tornado threat, we do have a 2% risk over parts of the Midwest as well. So still a threat for maybe a tornado or two being possible this evening. Damaging wind threat, it will be the biggest threat, looking at a 50% risk for 60-mile-per-hour winds being possible with some of these storms later on this evening, and then a small N hail threat being possible with about a half-inch sized hail being the main culprit of some of these hail reports. Now, with the excessive rainfall outlook, they have also put Indiana, especially underneath a moderate risk for excessive rainfall, as unfortunately, with the band of storms they'll be setting up later on tonight, this is going to heavily favor this area, meaning lots of flooding potentially taking place with a slight risk surrounding that. So even areas in the slight risk could see that happen as well. That includes Iowa, much of Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, parts of southwestern Ohio, West Virginia, and even parts of Virginia too. So a wide area of a slight risk and even some moderate at this time. And as of this afternoon, there's still a lot of moisture in the air, especially for southern parts of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. All the blues, greens, and yellows represent where you have moderate levels of instability. The reds is where you have the higher levels of instability. But even with just a little bit of instability, given the warm front moving through, this can again act as a mechanism to keep those storm chances ongoing. And that's exactly what's going to happen tonight as we move forward. And speaking of that, again, a little outlook for you this evening. With that round of storms, you do expect it to eventually die off, and then watching out for that band of storms to develop later on this evening into tonight as a warm front slowly begins to make its way towards the north. And as a result, we do expect, again, those storm chances become likely for Nebraska into Ohio, with damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour or greater possible. That small threat for a tornado and hail being possible as well. But the flood risk will be quite high, especially with these storms, as they'll be sitting over the same areas for long periods of time, meaning heavy rainfall will just continue to pummel the same areas. And unfortunately, especially for Indiana, where they've had ongoing flooding, upwards about 18 inches of rainfall falling in eastern Indiana over the last several days, this is not going to help them at all, as unfortunately is just going to add to the problem at this point. Now, looking at the forecast, looking at this evening into about midnight tonight, you can see that first round of storms over Indiana kind of dying off as it moves off towards southeast. You can see some scattered storms developing out here towards Nebraska, Kansas. This will eventually combine into a line of storms, as you'll notice with this next graphic. This is later on tonight, going into Friday morning. Notice how quickly those storms form over parts of the eastern plains into the Midwest, forming almost like a line of storms as it does slowly make its way to the north, but then also may come back down to the south. along that same stationary front, as it will try to come back down to the south a little bit overnight as well. But look, again, explosive development, meaning again, so widespread shower and storm trends is ongoing. And even as we head later on Friday morning, still expecting more widespread activity as that line starts to lose its steam, but still leaving enough print to produce more of those rainfall to parts of this entire region through about, again, 10 o'clock Friday morning. So watching that very closely. And in terms of rainfall between now and Friday morning, that's supposed to actually say Friday late morning. So ignore the Tuesday. So it's supposed to say Friday. We are expecting anywhere from about probably likely an inch to potentially three, maybe even 4 inches of rainfall. And as with this model, again, it does kind of vary on the amounts compared to other models where they do show it a little further to the south with more rainfall, while others show it a little bit further to the north. But this model in particular does paint a particular picture of basically anywhere in this zone could pick up over 2 inches of rainfall. Basically, all the purples is where we could potentially see 4 inches of rainfall. So it may not be Lafayette, it could be Muncie, it could be Kokomo, it could be Indianapolis, it could be any area in this region. As again, these rainfall amounts will be a little bit picky, but still some areas will be picking up quite a bit of rainfall overnight. Almost everyone will be getting rainfall in this region either way. Even if you don't see 5 inches of rainfall, you could still see maybe a half inch, quarter inch, maybe even a tenth. That could still happen with these storms. But that's it for this quick update. Just wanted to give you guys a little heads up about tonight, especially if you're in the Midwest. If you're tuning in, again, stay weather aware this evening. Have a way of getting alerts about watches and warnings that do take place tonight, and make sure you stay safe. And if any flooding occurs in your area, make sure you seek higher shelter or even just leave your home for the night, because again, these storms mean business as we head into Friday morning. So please take extra precautions. Now stay weather aware and have a good